So welcome to this ROV chat, and today Stephen and I are going to discuss a healthy relationship with ego and body and so-called negative emotions, for instance, sadness, anger, and fear. And so often in spiritual context, we talk about transcending the ego, transcending the body, transcending negative emotions, and it can tend to lead people, at least initially on the spiritual path, to think that, oh, the ego is a bad thing. I want to get beyond the ego. I want to have no ego, or I want to get beyond the body. I'm not my body. So there's kind of a denigrating of the body as, and also with negative emotions, there's oh, I want to be loving and kind, and so I want to not be angry, fearful, and sad. So today we just want to discuss how ego and body and all emotions are taken up in a wider awareness, and how this gives us a healthy relationship so that we can be an individual in the world, in a body, experiencing all the emotions of life, and do that from an elevated state of awareness. So, Stephen, that's a takeoff point.
It is. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, and love and blessings to everybody. It is indeed a launching point. It's a very potent discussion, because when we enter into a discussion like this, and we're looking at it from the point of the source or pure awareness, we realize we don't negate anything. We don't actually say that this is part of pure awareness and this isn't. So the first thing to really realize is that right at the ground of our being, there is this awareness, and awareness is all things. Awareness includes ego, it includes the body, it includes both what we call positive and negative emotions. And all of these aspects of life fundamentally are names, labels that we've given to everything. Like we give a name and identity to this ego, and we call it, in my case, Stephen, and it has all these ideas and concepts and belief systems associated with it. And this identity and this personhood is fundamentally what we believe in. But it also fundamentally is a product or part of the awareness, which saturates everything. And when we look at life from that point of view, then we don't negate anything. Everything becomes all inclusive. We actually work with a healthy and an insightful and a wise way of using this ego that we're given. We use our body as the sacred vehicle it is, which houses awareness, and we use it in a healthy way in which to do things. And then it's the same with positive and negative emotions. Instead of seeing them as positive and negative, we actually start to work with them in healthy ways. And I think once we come to that understanding that all of that is the ground of our being, that we're not separate from anything. It's not like there's us and then all those awful emotions over there, but literally that they are actually part of, as Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche calls it, the pain identity, but it's still the identity. There is then you start to come to a great deal of wisdom, because you ask yourself, so how can I skillfully deal with all that arises? Otherwise, we just tend to get into a pattern of aversion, even to our very own nature. We start to push away a negative emotion like anxiety, for example, or something we've labeled as a negative emotion, without realizing this is us. This is part of the identity that we're starting to understand. And I think then when you look at that in a very healthy way, you it's an all-embracing way. It's much more tantric in that sense, is in that you're reaching out with your heart to the world with really deep, open-hearted awareness to all things and embracing them with compassion. So I think it gives you a skillful means of working with awareness in a different way than compartmentalization. I mean, it's amazing, right? Given what the ego or the identity does, because it even compartmentalizes things like emotions, and we're not even aware we do it. We say, this one's okay, I'm going to grab onto that one, so that's grasping. This one's not okay, so I'm going to push that away, which is aversion. This one I got no idea about, so I'm just going to ignore it, which of course is ignorance. So you've got these fundamental things that simply unravel because you don't have a skillful means of dealing with them.
I think that that's key, is how we relate to everything. Isn't that the key? If we're relating from a space of awareness, which is all-inclusive and accepting of everything as an expression of life, versus identification, when we identify ourselves with the things that we like and then disidentify with the things that we don't like, that creates a false sense of separation from this flow of life that is flowing through us and providing, in these emotions, providing tremendous information. I mean, fear at its, in a healthy, flowing sense, alerts us that we may need to take some action. There's something that might need our attention. Sadness, in a healthy, flowing sense, is what enables us to let go and detach from something that's no longer serving us or something that is past. And anger, in a healthy, flowing sense, enables us to set boundaries and to say, it alerts us to what needs to be protected, what needs to be fortified and supported. So we have, because we've so identified with certain things that we like and other things that we don't like, we tend to bypass those things or avoid those things that we don't like, and just welcome the things that we do like. And that really is what creates inner division and inner separation, which we then project out onto the world and onto others and feel like we're isolated individuals rather than connected to all of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. In fact, you brought to mind the story that Mingyur Rinpoche tells when he's in the railway station and he's surrounded by, unfamiliar territory, and about the anxiety that comes up and how the anxiety, in his life had become his teacher. So there's a really great example of how not pushing away something, but in fact, he said, as he says, the anxiety actually helped him to transform into awareness his experience, because he'd been in a secluded or a protected monastery, and now here he was in a public railway station. He thought he'd be able to deal with it, but a whole different set of circumstances came up that he hadn't prepared for, and that brought up a different sense of anxiety, but that in turn enabled him to strongly relate to awareness itself and realize that there are these processes that we all go through. I mean, I remember them asking Milarepa, one of the great Tibetan yogis, about anger and whether he felt anger, and he said, of course. He said, emotions are present in all of us. I feel anger like you do, but I don't hang on to it to the degree that you do. The anger that I have, it comes, I recognize, and it's gone in a flash because I know how to deal with it. And I think that's the really, empowering part of the ego, body, and emotions, is that when the emotions come up, instead of, as you said, letting them, like a wild horse, take you on a wild ride, instead of that, you recognize them as they come up, it allows you to turn in, find the awareness that's aware of the emotions, and be that much more healthy in your relationship. As you rightly said, Kevin, it's about relationship. By turning in and recognizing, that's where interoception in our practices has become so crucial in what we teach people, because the moment that people turn inwards, when they recognize the emotions coming, the fears coming, they turn inwards, find that source of awareness, which really is still, silent, tranquil, spacious. The moment that you give space, even a fraction of space, if there is such a thing, but the moment that you give the space to those emotions, there's a whole different relationship to them. When you're caught in emotions, the identity literally goes out to them like an object and grabs onto them and holds on to them, because you believe in that moment that you are that. You believe you're the emotion, you're the fear. There's no separation, but you're so involved and immersed in it, or saturated in the fear. But the other way is you can turn in. You in that moment, you actually realize that there is this space of awareness, this still, silent, open, infinite awareness that can be aware of an emotion as it comes up. It's quite an extraordinary realization to know that emotion is arising out of that ground of awareness, and you can have a healthy relationship to it. It is life-changing.
Information in it. It's telling you about what's happening in the present moment.
Yes,
and
exactly.
and just like anything that's happening in life, in a sense, there's no bad or good experience. Everything is an opportunity, a moment that is ripe for awareness.
Exactly. Absolutely. It's incredibly exciting if you look at life that way, because then you do see every single moment as that opportunity to allow that flow or current of life or flow of love to move through you. You literally see it like that. That's how I often get asked that question. Well, how does one actually experience oneself as a tree or as the open sky? Well, it's because you've actually a different relationship with you. When awareness comes, you no longer see it as this limited. You don't see yourself as a limited container which simply contains thoughts and beliefs and ideas. You suddenly realize you're not that. You're actually empty of content fundamentally, and there is this. And once you recognize that emptiness or ungraspability, suddenly a light goes on in your mind. You think, oh, well, that means I'm limitless. There's something that's ungraspable. That quality of ungraspability is actually infinite. And the light goes on and you go, oh, right, right. There's nothing to hold on to anyway. The relationship with your emotions takes a whole different turn, because you're not trying to grasp. You see that the fundamental quality of awareness itself is ungraspable, and therefore the emotion also, that there's nothing to hang on to. You can allow yourself to develop a whole different freedom and way of relating to the emotion. And actually, as you said, when necessary, you use the emotion in a healthy way. When there's a situation you need to be out of, because there is a situation where somebody's running at you with a club, there's a lot of different ways that you can
There's an
deal with
appropriate emotion, right?
Yeah.
Right. And when we view emotions as information, then we can approach them from this wide, infinite space of awareness. Then we can inquire of the emotions, and that puts us in a different relationship with them. It's like, oh, what is this telling me about myself, about others around me, about this environment, about this situation? There's information in everything, in every emotion, in every experience. And this body is a vehicle within which I get emotional information and information about the field around me and information about relating to others. And being an individual within a wide space of awareness is a way that I interact in the world. Without being an individual self, there's no sense of relationship. There's a reason why this is the form that creation decided to take. It's because there are qualities of experience that happens when we experience ourselves as individual bodies and individual minds that give us awareness. And when we welcome everything as an expression of awareness, that's a whole different relationship, both to our individuality, to our bodies, to our emotions, to each other, and to life itself.
I absolutely agree. And that's a beautiful point to end on, Kevin, because I do think that we are developing a relationship with all of life. And that all of life relationship is love. It doesn't cut anything out. It is all embracing. It is a unconditional love state. It is an unconditional relationship with life. And that, that is like the bodhisattva path, where you are open to everything, where everything becomes compassion, or everything becomes awareness, or everything becomes love, or everything becomes openness, or everything becomes clear. So it's a very, very beautiful, all-encompassing, and very, very felt experience of life. I always love that, Kevin, in the Dzogchen teachings, when you get right to the end, they say, so this rigpa, this radiance, this pure awareness, how do you see it? And Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche said, you feel it. It's so said so simply. Yes, you feel it. You feel it. It's very open-hearted awareness of everything. So, Kevin, that was beautifully said. So, thank you.
Thank you for this chat.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Thank you, indeed.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your practice.
Thank you always.